Welcome to the Steps in Purpose podcast with Edie Ann. This podcast explores emotional awareness, faith, and purposeful living through short, reflective conversations designed to help you notice where you are and take your next step with clarity. Thanks for being here. Have you ever felt like you were trying so hard to become a better version of yourself, only to realize your heart was really asking you to come back to who you already were? You know, this thought I've been sitting with in such a real way because I hear the word becoming all the time. And I get why people say it. It sounds hopeful and inspiring, and it's full of growth. Still, every time I hear it, something in me pauses. Because when I think about God, I do not think He made us as half-finished ideas, right? I think He created us with purpose from the start. I think He placed things inside of us that were always meant to be there. So for me, this journey feels less like becoming and more like an emerging. So I keep picturing a woman standing in her kitchen early in the morning before the house wakes up. The coffee's brewing, the light's soft. Everything feels quiet in that rare kind of way, right? It almost feels sacred. She reaches for her mug and she catches her reflection in the microwave door. And it's only for a second, but it's just long enough to stop her, right? She sees those tired eyes. She sees a woman who's been carrying a lot for a long time. She sees someone who has learned to just keep going, to push through, right? To handle what needed to be handled. Then she sees something even deeper. She sees how much her life has been spent trying to earn her way back to herself, trying to fix more, to prove more, to do more, to hold more, hoping that maybe then she would finally feel like enough. So she just stands there for a moment, right, with the mug in her hand, and instead of running straight into the day, she asks herself a different question. What if I already carry what God created me to be? What I need now is the courage to let her come forward. It kind of changes something, right? That question shifts things. It changes the pressure in the room. It changes the way that she sees herself. It changes the whole tone of the journey. Because now it stops feeling like a race to become someone else and starts feeling like coming back home. Like peeling off the layers. Like loosening the hold of old stories. Like letting truth breathe again. That is what emerging feels like to me. So it's less about becoming and more like emerging. It feels like the real you rising up from underneath everything life laid up on top of you. You know? And I think a whole lot of us know that feeling. Because life has a way of layering us up, right? It hands us heartbreak and pressure and disappointment and expectations. It teaches us roles, right, to play and habits to lean on and ways to protect ourselves that once made perfect sense. After a while, those layers can get so thick that we forget what's under them. We start talking from hurt instead of from truth. Think about that, right? We start choosing from fear instead of faith. And we start measuring ourselves by what happened to us instead of by what God placed in us. Then, one day, something starts to shift, right? Sometimes it comes through exhaustion, and sometimes it comes through healing. Sometimes it comes through one of those deep moments with God where you can feel in your spirit that you are ready for something truer, right? That is where empowerment starts to come alive. Empowerment feels different because there is ownership in it. There's movement in it. There's this sense of finally realizing that your thoughts have been shaping more of your life than you have even realized. And you start hearing yourself more clearly. You start noticing the stories you have been telling yourself. And sometimes it's about yourself. You start seeing where those thoughts have been taking you. Because thoughts really do set direction. When a woman keeps telling herself that she always has to prove herself, she starts living from that pressure. She overextends, she overexplains, she overworks. When she keeps telling herself that she always loses herself, she starts expecting disconnection. When she keeps telling herself she has to earn peace, rest starts feeling really far away. That is why this matters so much. The thoughts we live with quietly shape the life we feel on the outside. And this is where it gets really beautiful. When you start seeing yourself as emerging, your thoughts begin to soften and shift. You start asking different questions. Instead of tearing yourself apart, you start wondering what you've been carrying that was never yours to keep. Instead of trying to earn your worth, you start remembering truth. And instead of asking who you need to become, you start asking what in you is ready to rise, right? That changes the whole feel of healing. Now it feels less like striving and just more like uncovering. It feels less forced and more like memory. It feels like building a brand new self or less like building a brand new self, right? And more like letting the real you have room to breathe. That lands differently in the heart. It feels softer, it feels steadier, and it feels honest. And I think that is why this lands so deeply in empowerment. Because this is the level where you start partnering with truth on purpose. You start choosing your thoughts with more care because you can feel how closely they are tied to the way you live. I have a formula that I use. Thoughts plus emotion equal action. Thoughts plus action equal results. And this is perfect proof. So when you want your life to shift, you want to begin here, right? Maybe it starts with a thought like, God put something beautiful in me. Maybe it starts with, I am allowed to live from truth. Maybe it starts with, what God created in me still is in me. Maybe it starts with, I am emerging from everything that taught me to stay small. Those kinds of thoughts change the atmosphere inside of you. They make room for courage. They strengthen confidence, right? They bring a little bit of oxygen back into places that felt tight for a really long time. And from there, your choices start shifting. You start speaking up. You rest. And you start trusting your own voice. You listen to your heart with a little bit more honesty. You start placing your identity back where it belongs, right? That is where empowerment starts to feel real. Sometimes it looks strong and bold. Sometimes it looks incredibly tender. Sometimes it looks like finally saying what you mean. Sometimes it looks like stepping back from what has been draining you. And sometimes it looks like sitting in your car with tears in your eyes and whispering, Lord, bring me back to who you created me to be. And little by little, that is exactly what will happen. That's the beauty of emerging. A flower emerges because the life was always in the seed. Listen to that. A flower emerges because the life was always in the seed. The sun emerges because it's always there, beyond the dark. A butterfly emerges because the design was already within it. And you carry a design too. A holy one, a purposeful one, a beautiful one. Your life may have covered parts of you for a season, yet purpose still lives in you. Wisdom still lives in you. Courage, tenderness still lives in you. Your voice still lives in you. Your calling still lives in you. Maybe it felt quiet for a while, and that's okay. Maybe it felt buried. Maybe it's been sitting underneath layers of hurt and habit and fear, but it's still there. So maybe this season is about loosening your grip on becoming and opening your heart to emerging. Maybe God is showing you that you were never missing what mattered most. Maybe you were simply covered up by life for a while. And now, through truth and healing and awareness, something real is rising again. That's a beautiful thing. So today, I want to leave with you this question. What in me is ready to emerge? Sit with it for a little while. Maybe journal it. Pray over it. Carry it with you into the quiet parts of your day. Because when you ask that question, you start listening differently. You start seeing yourself differently. You start honoring the work God is already doing in you. And that is what empowerment feels like. It feels like a person who finally realizes that they are done chasing themselves, coming home to themselves. They're rising and remembering, emerging. Just remember, your next step matters. And if you'd like more tools, go to edieanne.com at edieanne.com. Thanks for spending this time with me. Until next time, keep stepping in purpose.